All right, buckle up. We're in for a wild story here. My darkest moments with food when I was modeling in Milan, Italy. So I got to share this one with you guys because I did a video on my story where I had problems with binge eating and I ate a donut out of trash can. I've shared some pretty vulnerable things on this podcast, and I was just reflecting on what other stories do I have that would be valuable for people to understand that they're not alone and that there's a way out. And I was reflecting through the different chapters of my life. And I realized I don't really record a lot about my modeling days, which were some of the wild ones, especially when it comes to food. So I figured, let's just do a video on this today and share some wild stories of the stuff that I had to do when I was modeling internationally in Milan, Italy. So for those of you that are, again, newer to me, I used to be a big bodybuilder and powerlifter. I used to weigh 240 pounds. I think the heaviest I've ever deadlifted was about 550 pounds. There'll be some photos popping up on the screen here when I was that big and I was lifting that type of weight. And then one day, I was hanging out with a friend and, went to an apartment. The apartment was owned by his agent. It was basically an office for a modeling agency. He was there to grab some comp cards, kind of like your business cards for modeling, which, if I can find some of them, because they're at my parents' house in Canada, but we'll put them up on the screen so you can see my cards that I had for my business for modeling. Got recruited. Agent saw me. She said, I see something under those big chubby cheeks. Cause mind you, I'm 6'4", 240 pounds at that point. And I was like, you know what? Why not? Let's just give it a shot. So I went on Google and I was like, what is the fastest way to get skinny? And then vegan showed up. Said vegans are skinny and weak. I was like, I don't like the aspect of being weak because I prided myself on my strengths and my physique. I was like, you know what? Like, I really want to try this modeling thing because I think I was working at like Subway at the time. So I didn't make a lot of money, and I heard how much money you can make from like a photo shoot. And I was like, this is like a week's worth of income from just me having to be fit. And so, disclaimer, you can be fit and strong by being vegan. I know this at this point, but I didn't know back then. So yeah, I went vegan overnight. Ultimately, all this to say, I lost 80 pounds in my first year. I stopped strength training. I ate as little protein as possible. I severely underate on my calories, just so I can lose a shit ton of weight to get into modeling. Throughout that 1 year, I did a photo shoot. I was super lean. I did well. I booked a gig. I made as much money in a day as I did in a week working at Subway. And I was like, this is awesome. I want to do more of this. And I can't remember how old I was. I was probably like 19, 20, I believe at the time. Yeah, I was probably 19. I was probably 20 years old at the time. Yeah. That's what got me into modeling. And then, because I'm 6'4", I fell in the runway category. I didn't fall into the commercial just because I was so tall and lanky, basically. So, because I had lost all the weight as well, but because I was tall, I was runway. So all the people that you see like walking straight like this and doing the blue steel at the end of the runway, like Ben Stiller and Zoolander, that's what I did. That was my modeling gigs were. I did a few photo shoots here and there, but it's primarily runway. Again, I'm sure we can pop some photos. My editor can put some photos on the screen of me back in the day. It might look a little bit different than I do now. I had some hair back then. So when I got into that industry, obviously, even though I had lost 80 pounds in my first year, I still had a pretty good base because mind you, I was 240 pounds. I'd done bodybuilding, I'd done powerlifting. So I had I had a big chest, I had a big back. And so every time I would go to castings, and they'd put dress shirts, like the button at the front of the dress shirt would just like open up because my chest was like so big basically. And so what I had to do all the time is kind of like squeeze my shoulder in like this so that it looked like the dress shirt would fit me. And when I'd put on suits, it was the same thing. I had to squeeze in my shoulders and my chest and my back to just like, and the other thing I had to do because I have really long arms is I had to like suck my arms in like this. Oh man, it's so funny to think about this. I haven't talked about this in a long time. I used to like have to suck my arms like this so that the suit and the dress shirt wouldn't look too short on my arms and my hands. So it would make my arm look shorter basically by like me just kind of like propping it up like this and squeezing my chest. So you can imagine when I'm going to casting and I'm working jobs, I'm like shoulders up, like making my arms smaller, squeezing my chest and my lats so that I don't like burst out of the suit. It was really hard to get gigs. And then through a series of things, which could be a story for another time, I ended up getting a contract in Milan, Italy for Milan Fashion Week. In my preparation of going over there, I think I had taken like a little break. I was living in a van with a buddy of mine Florian from Germany, which is still a great friend of mine to this day, or a decade after. And I was not trying to be the skinny. Like I was just eating and exercising. Basically, we were just having a good time, living in a van, traveling the world at that point. It was like in early 20s. And so I got to Milan, and then the casting agents, you have to do your Polaroids, which those were the worst days ever to do Polaroids because you always feel so chunky on that day. For some reason, the lighting's just shitty. For those of you that have done Polaroids for agency, it's just like it's the worst day. You just feel so fat, and it's always the day after you ate some food that you weren't supposed to, so you're super bloated. I hated those days. Anyways, I get to Milan, Italy. Again, I don't speak the language, obviously. And I get there and they're like, oh, like your sizes on your comp card says this. Your comp card's, again, your business card for modeling, which everyone lies on them. I said that I was like 6'1" or 6'2" on the cards. I can't remember. Put the photo up. It's been a while, but I'm actually 6'4", because 6'4" is too tall. I would sneak above the average of the models, so it was too tall. I had to lie about my chest size because I had to say I was like a 38 or a 40 for the suit or something. And I was like a 42, 44 because of my chest and my back and my lats. And so yeah, we tweaked a few numbers on there basically. And so I started to like go to castings and blah blah blah. And then eventually I came really close to booking some jobs, but I tried on some clothes, and they're like, nah, it doesn't fit nice, right? It's like, no bueno, because in Italy. And basically I didn't get some jobs because I didn't fit in the clothes. So my agents were like, yo, you need to get skinnier. And I was like, well, I'm 6'4". How much was I? I was like 175 pounds, I think, at the time, which is, 10 pounds lighter than I am now, but a very unhealthy 10 pounds, like very unhealthy at that point. I was like, I'm feel like I'm just bones at this point. Like I have to like shave bones on my shoulders and my chest are trying to get smaller to fit into those darn clothes. And so because I was there and then I needed to make money, they needed to make money. And I was living in an apartment with 5 other guys, which was like 5 single beds in one room. It was a 1-bedroom apartment, but there was 5 single beds in a room and 1 tiny kitchen, and everyone lived in there. Going back, I would have done it very differently. They definitely took advantage of the models in terms of how much they charge for the hotel and the apartment and blah blah blah. But that's a conversation for another time. If you guys want that story, just let me know down below. But I basically was like, you know what, screw it. Like, I'm here, I'm gonna make the most out of it. Let me try to get as skinny as possible. So I just ate, it was like rice and veggies basically. And I was so broke as well. So rice was like super cheap. So I would just eat rice and veggies, no fat, no protein, no nothing. I stopped strength training and I would run 2 to 3 hours a day. Again, I'm 6'4" at 160 pounds. But I wasn't consuming a plan. Again, I was living on rice and veggies and just tons of cardio. You need to be smaller. You need to be smaller. And eventually it plays in your head, right? Like going to all those casting agents, going out to all those castings. You go to a casting and you see, 50 tall, skinny, blonde, good-looking guys that look exactly just like you. And then there's not like much differentiator between all of you. Maybe his teeth is a little bit different, his eyes a little bit different, slightly different face structure, but as an overall, most of us look the same. So it's really hard to differentiate yourself. And the fact that I couldn't fit in the clothes just made it so hard for me to get a job. And I was just getting upset with it. I was like, man, I'm eating rice, I'm running 2 to 3 hours a day. Second, eating rice and veggies all day. Eventually you want to eat something else. and they had this vegan gelato. I think it was like a Aldi grocery store, and it was in Milan. It was the center of Milan, and there was like this vegan gelato, and eventually I just bought the pint and I just ate the whole thing. And I was like, oh, this feels so good. And then I was so deprived and just mentally not there that I went back and I bought another pint of it, and I ate two things. And I think I remember calculating it was like 2,500 calories to 3,000 calories. 3,000 calories of vegan gelato. It was bad timing. But yeah, basically I had a lot of those episodes as I was going through it. And then the thing would happen is after a few times of overeating and then having to do Polaroids or get a gig the next day where I'd have to be shirtless because for a bathing suit or whatever it may be, there was a point, and that was pretty much like the only time in my life where I've ever considered making myself puke. I had overeaten so much. And I get that text late at night, like, oh, Polaroids tomorrow. Oh my God, I had just eaten like 6,000 calories of fries and fried food and shit food because I just couldn't control myself. I was so hungry from running so much and from under eating so much that, you know what, you know how it is. If you undereat for a long time, like you're fine for a bit, but eventually the hunger catches up to you and then it's insatiable. You just can't eat enough to fill this hole that you have in your stomach. And I ate so much, and I got back home at my apartment, and I remember just like being over the toilet, and I was like, right, I should probably just like puke this out because that's my only chance of being lean tomorrow. That's my only chance of like being somewhat skinny, not bloated and inflamed. And I remember trying to put my finger in my throat, and I just couldn't do it. I don't like puking. I guess no one does, but I would just like gag. And it's funny to look back at it now, but it wasn't funny then. But I was like trying to make myself puke, and I just couldn't do it. And I think I stood there for like 10 minutes trying to, but I just couldn't get my finger deep enough to like make myself puke. And I just mentally couldn't make myself puke because I hated it so much. And so, yeah, I didn't end up making myself puke, thankfully. And the next day I went to go do Polaroids and I look like shit. And I just kind of reinforced that image that I had of myself of, I'll never be skinny enough. I'll never be lean enough. I'll never get a freaking gig in making it in this industry. And that was a pivotal moment in my life because that's kind of when I transitioned to like blogging. So writing, that's when I was going by the name Lucky at the time. So I started Lucky's Adventure. It was a whole blog where I documented my travels on there. And from going to casting agencies and all those things, like you can't smile. And you know, I can tell, but like, I don't really care about this now, but I have a little bit of crooked teeth. I have a lot of crooked teeth, right? All right. Yeah, one day I'll get it fixed, but I heard you have headaches from Invisalign and stuff, and I don't really want to have headaches because my brain's my biggest asset to the things that I do every day. But one day I'll get it fixed. But I have crooked teeth a little bit, and they were like, okay, well, you can't, first of all, you can't smile because it's high fashion, right? So it's very like serious. It's very like, you have to be very composed. Unhealthy relationship with myself because I never felt like I was never lean enough. I was never skinny enough. I could fit in the darn freaking clothes that they make for the, like, you had to be this big to freaking fit in those clothes. You just have to be a hanger. That's basically what your job is. You're a hanger for the clothes. You can't have too many curves. That's why the girls are so skinny in high fashion is you can't, well, again, back in the day, it's like over a decade ago, you couldn't have any curves because it would distort the pattern of the clothing. Basically, I think it's changed a lot now, but back then you just had to be skinny. And I was speaking to some of the girls that were in the same agency as mine, and they also had an agency in Paris. And there was a trend, it was the cotton ball diet. I don't know if any of you guys have heard that. I've never done that, thankfully. But basically girls would soak up cotton balls and orange juice and they would eat it to make themselves feel full, right? And I would say it tastes because it's orange juice, but they would eat soaked up cotton balls and oranges to make themselves feel full. That's crazy. Like I remember our apartment, there was some People were taking things that were illegal to help them not be hungry and stay skinny, basically. I never touched any of those because I was like, I still want to be healthy. So for me, just eating rice and veggies and running 2 hours a day was like my version of healthy, which is extremely unhealthy. Don't do that. Guys struggle with that too, right? Depending what your goal that you're after. Yeah, guys deal with that shit too in modeling. For sure, it's harder on girls. But yeah, guys that are in that industry, man, that was pretty rough for me. Some people that I was working with were genetically very blessed, and I was like, good for you guys. I was not one of those guys. I had definitely had to like starve myself and over exercise and work a shit ton, even be able to be at those casting and in those positions. Like that agency loan I got for myself from working my ass off, and just from Instagram and posting and building relationship to be able to get to that place, or else I would have never gotten there, right? I wasn't the best looking for, for those gigs. So yeah, that was like the time where I almost made myself puke, and I just couldn't get myself mentally to put my finger in my throat to get myself to puke. And what other weird shit as well that they told me. So when I was running, I had to run with a long sleeve, and they wanted me to wear gloves and a hoodie when I was doing my cardio outside, because they wanted you to be as pale as possible for modeling. Again, high fashion changes, so I feel like it's somewhat similar still to this day. I don't really keep track of it, but I have to be really pale. And so I was tan, right? Like I'm a white boy from Canada in Milan, Italy during the summer. Like I was hot. I was shirtless all the time. So I got a tan. I looked pretty darn good in my opinion. But yeah, they wanted me to be as pale as possible. So they told me I had to make a concoction of, I think it was like milk and sugar, and to scrub my body with that to get rid of my natural tan. I think I did it with like almond milk, 'cause I don't want to use dairy, but I did it with like almond milk and sugar, and it kind of like an exfoliant. It didn't work. I tried it. It tried a lot of weird shit, to like trying to get skinnier, trying to get whiter. Yeah, it was a very interesting time of my life. I'm really happy that I stepped out of it. But yeah, all this to say that if you listen to my other story videos that I'm posting on the YouTube channel, I've done different stages of my life, different chapters. I've learned different lessons. That's the reason why I coach people the way that I do, is because I've done all that weird shit. Like how many people nowadays are like, there's this new diet that I saw on TikTok and I'm going to do it. It's 600 calories a day and I'm going to take 20,000 steps every day and cycle every morning and every night and do all that crap. Like you don't see yourself doing that thing for the rest of your life. It's not going to last. The weight will come back on. And that's what happened to me after Italy. I just ballooned right back up. Like I had that motivation to try to get skinny and stay skinny as much as possible during my contract. When my contract was done, I went back to eating and then I ballooned right back up. I was not 160 pounds. I think I went up to 210 pounds or something after. Like I went up pretty high after that trip. I went to Germany to see my friend Flo because he was there from our road tripping thing that we did in the van. He flew back home because he was from there. But yeah, I think I went back up to like 210 pounds after, and it took me a while to lose it after. But all this to say that when we really want something, we do weird shit. When we really want something and we're not ready for the opportunity that presents itself, then we want to take shortcuts and do weird shit. But if you stay ready and the opportunity presents itself, you don't have to do weird shit. So if I would have lost the weight properly the first time, and I would have been able to be skinnier, leaner, while knowing everything that I know now, right? Body recomp, reverse dieting, I would have been able to eat a great amount of food while being able to be that small. And I would have had a much better experience while I was modeling overseas. But I had a bad relationship with food from my previous years of bodybuilding. Again, if you listen to my previous story videos, you'll know what I'm talking about. And so when it came to that, being able to get that contract in Milan, which I was so excited, my first contract overseas, and then get told that I have to be even skinnier than what I was, that just fueled that bad relationship with food and the binge eating and all those things. So it just made it worse. But yeah, I'm happy that I went through that, because now I have these beautiful lessons and stories to share to kind of help other people to understand that like there's a better path in doing all of that. Because what's the point? You want to be lean and fit for 2-3 months, or you want to be lean and fit for the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 decades, right? I'd rather be fit for the next 6 decades, 7 decades, 8 decades, the rest of my life, than to be fit for a short period of time. And so if you just do it properly and you stay fit, then when opportunity presents itself, you're just ready. You're just fit, right? There's a wedding that presents itself. You have to go to the beach. There's a photo shoot. There's a fun race you want to do with your partner. Like, you're just ready to go. You're just fit. You're ready to rock and roll. So that's more my philosophy now. But that was definitely an interesting period of my life to go through that. And to be honest with y'all, that was a massive pivotal moment for me, because I got so upset with being told no, 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 no from all the casting agents, being told I was too big, I was not skinny enough, even though I was starving. It made me tear up. I promised myself at that time, I said, fuck the industry. One day I'm going to be on the cover of a magazine. I'm going to be known for what I built and what I've provided as value to the world, not because of what I look like. Because back then it was all about what I looked like. That's how I made money. That's how I worked. And so that's when I started the blog, and it kind of transitioned this journey to like YouTube, and then my journey to Vancouver, and then starting my business, and then blowing it up to what it is now, and being able to be in the position that I'm in, which is, I'll be honest with you, I have at least 10x'd the wildest life I could have imagined for myself at that time. And I still can't believe that I'm here in this position now. Like I said, this is 10 times way crazier and cool than I thought I could ever accomplish. And it stemmed from that moment being like, I can't stand someone telling me I can't cut my hair. I can't smile on a darn freaking photo. I had to ask someone for permission for everything, being told you suck, you're too skinny, blah, blah, blah. That was like a pivotal moment for me to be, you know what, I'm gonna build my own thing. I'm gonna be on cover of a magazine for what I've built and how much I've provided value to the world. So that was a big fire that got lit up for me at that time of my life. So yeah, just fun little story time for you guys on a Saturday morning. So hope it was valuable. Hope it was helpful. I just felt like it was time for me to share that story. I have a lot of, I used to live in a van with my friend. That was a wild adventure. I've modeled in New York. That was a wild adventure as well. I've hitchhiked in Canada, kind of like over 100 rides easy. I've done a lot of cool things. So if you guys want more of these little story times, let me know in the comment section below. I'm more than happy to share them. I own every single one of my stories and all the cool shit and stupid shit that I've done in my life, which is why I'm able to share them. So yeah, if this is valuable to you, let me know in the comment section below. Two things, if you guys want, to be supported in helping to improve your relationship with food, relationship with self, getting fitter, getting leaner, got two options for you. There's two ways to do that. Down below in the description, there's a link to join our free newsletter. I send 2 emails a week. On Wednesday, I always share a story with a recipe or sometimes a meal plan template that you can just use for yourself that's whole food plant based. And on Saturday, I share a weekly newsletter that kind of has a recap of, I go live on YouTube sometimes, or I'll do private trainings or different things that we have going on. That's all going to be posted on there. We do fun giveaways. We have fun guests, speakers that come and lead trainings for our inner circle. So again, down below you can sign up for that for absolutely free. And then if you want to work with us directly, you can just book your free body recomposition coaching call down below.